Revelation 2833. From the 31st of July and the 1st of August 1943. God's demands on man. Power supply. The demands God makes of man during his life on earth can be fulfilled very easily, and none of them is beyond man's strength. God does not demand anything impossible or difficult to fulfill from him. It only appears unfulfillable when he no longer acknowledges God or is distant from him through his way of life. For then this way of life is contrary to the divine requirements. Therefore, only the right relationship with God needs to be established in order to be in possession of the strength which enables him to carry out his task in life. To fulfill the divine requirements, the commandments of love for him and his neighbor. Everything the human being achieves is an expression of divine strength which will always flow to him as soon as he needs it and, by acknowledging God, opens himself to this flow of strength. If he then does works of love, God himself is, as it were, active in him, that is, his spirit impels him to carry out every activity, and the human being will never be powerless if he gives in to this inner urge. The inner urge of a person who strives to fulfill God's will is such an expression of the spirit, and this inner urge should therefore always be complied with. Then he will always fulfill God's requirements. For what the spirit in him wants is God's will, thus his language. The more willing the human being is, the sooner he will comply with this requirement, and he will never feel it to be too high or unfeasible. For as soon as he carries out a work of love, the strength to carry it on already flows to him. He will act as a matter of course. He will neither feel compelled to do it nor feel the exercise to be an oppressive burden. His way of life will completely correspond to God's will, and therefore his life will also earn him the success which is the purpose and goal of his embodiment on earth. God knows about all his living creations. He also knows about their weakness of will, their lack of strength and their weak power of resistance. Thus he makes his demands in accordance with all these deficiencies. And he is always ready with his strength to let them overflow as soon as the human being has the will to accept them. His entire requirement only consists of the human being changing his will, of him giving his free will to him, then all means and strength will be at his disposal, then he will always be able to accomplish what God demands of him. Weakness no longer exists from the moment the human being requests God's assistance. The human being is strong as soon as he turns to God in his weakness, even if he still often feels weak. This is only a means which God uses to make him ask all the more sincerely and desirously, because the strength from God can only become effective where it is desired from the bottom of the heart. The human being must not become indifferent. He must remain aware of his task on earth and constantly entrust himself to God so that he can always fulfill God's requirements, which only consist of demonstrating love for God in laboring love for his neighbor. Amen.